Hello, everyone. I hope you're well. Wow, so many of you in chat already. This is awesome to see. I hope you're good. First time chatters as well. Welcome in Oz. Welcome in Clara. Great to see you over here. Guys, some of these people have inevitably come over from our community Discord server. So if you want to find out first about events and streams like this and all the other stuff that we do, you can find it there by scanning that QR code. If you're watching on your phone, just take a screenshot and then you'll be able to come back to that later, because until we get like 1,000 members, you can't get like a memorable Discord name, which is really annoying. So there's lots of random letters in there, so take a screenshot and then you come back to it later. Thank you for everyone that's been in this early. Those of you that were on the last Chronic Pain Club, not last weekend, the weekend before, might have noticed it was a bit quiet. There was some weird YouTube thing went on where people didn't get the alert that we were live, subscribers didn't get the alert that we were live. So those of you that found your way here just through habit and came on the stream 2 Sundays ago at 7 o'clock, thank you so much. It was very reassuring to see people, but what's even more reassuring is to see everybody back tonight. So thank you so much for joining in, guys. And I know I've missed a couple of weeks. Last weekend I actually had a social life for once, which was nice, but we're back now. Just to let you know what we've got coming up on the show. I should have had this prepared and I haven't, so we'll just wing it. So we next Sunday we've got the return of Jamie Nicole. So those of you that watch this regularly will know that Jamie joined us recently, was a fantastic guest. We didn't get through everything we needed to talk about, so they've kindly agreed to return, and they've also rescheduled because of my health previously. So a big shout out to Jamie for being accommodating. We've also got a special coming up with ASIF, the Ankylosing or Axial Spa international organization, the umbrella organization for all the AS organizations around the world. There's lots of people. I'm actually not going to list them because I realized I could just be listed forever and then someone's going to say you didn't mention me. But lots coming up, guys. But we will be here next weekend. So obviously I had a break last week, so I didn't want people thinking it wasn't a regular thing again. Thank you to all the people that are lurking in chat. Genuinely, we say this a lot on our Twitch channel. We don't say it enough here on YouTube. The people that are lurkers, if you're new here or you're watching from Facebook, you're not familiar with that term. They're basically people that watch but don't talk in chat. It's an endearing term. It's not. It might sound like, what you call them a lurker for? It's an internet name for people that watch live streams but don't talk in chat. So massive thank you to all the lurkers, because genuinely you are the backbone of what we do. It's the same over on Twitch, it's the same here. So for anyone that's got us on in the background or are watching but not feeling in that place to engage with chat, trust me, I'm one of them. I'm terribly antisocial when I'm not doing well, when I'm in a lot of pain like I am this weekend. The last thing I want to do is get involved in chat. So if you're one of those people that are watching, thank you for supporting us. It doesn't have to always be in the ways of liking videos and talking in the chat and all that. And for all of you guys that are here in chat, providing things for people to read for others, thank you so much, and for being part of the community. I really appreciate it. So welcome in Clara. I don't know if have we seen you on the Chronic Pain Club before? I'm not sure, but we definitely haven't. Oz, so welcome in. Usual bit I ask here is I'd love to know where everyone's watching from. So if you do feel confident enough to say something on whatever platform you're watching, to let us know what part of the world you're watching, please do. I love finding that out. It also helps us line up guests if we know. We tend to be a 50-50 split between sort of UK and North America, but every now and then we'll get one that breaks that trend, and it's always nice to know. So thank you for sharing, getting involved, guys. If you are new here, because we always get people come just for the topic, which is totally cool. That's what we exist for. We try to cover as much as we can. Welcome in, Rachel. I hope you're well. So if you're new here, first and foremost, we're a peer support community. This group of people you see here in chat, they don't just hang out here, they hang out in the other things we do, like on Discord, on Twitch, and all these other places. So if you want to know more about that, let me just chuck a link up there. I really should copy that link and put it in chat, but you can go find my link tree and you'll find a list of all the places where you can hang out with these people. So first and foremost, we're a peer support community. And the reason I say that, guys, do not worry if what you talk about in chat tonight is not related to what me and our guests are talking about. We turn up to create a space for you to feel how you want to fill it. We talk about important things, we share people's stories, and those videos and clips from that go on to hopefully reach people and help people down the line. But for the hour that we're live, it's your space. Fill it, lean on each other, ask questions of each other, share your experiences. Don't worry if it's not related. Like, we'll be talking a lot about mental health and pain tonight. If it's not related to that, if it's something else, don't worry. Use this community how you guys see fit. And it's also how we foster relationships and build community by you guys interacting with each other. You know, I'm creating the space. It shouldn't be, I can't share my story anymore. I'm already bored of my own story. The whole reason we created this was to create a space for other people to share theirs. So please do fill chat with whatever you feel is appropriate as a peer support community. And also, if anyone needs any signposting today, please let us know. And our moderators, who is Lauren G and Nia Cheeks, will direct you as best they can. But the usual disclaimer, guys, we're not medical professionals. We're not medically trained. Both myself and the people behind all of this never claim to be. We are here purely to provide a platform for other people to share their stories. So we won't be able to help with anything medical. We can try and signpost you. We can try and point you in the right direction, but we won't be able to help with that. But welcome in to all the people from Australia. Welcome in from Australia. I love that. Yeah, if anyone wants to share where they're watching from, that'd be great. Right, in a moment, guys, I'm going to be bringing our guest in. The chat will come off screen. We do that for a couple of reasons. The first one's really obvious. We're on the internet in 2025 doing a live stream. It takes one idiot to ruin it for everyone. So by taking that off screen, it keeps everyone safe, gives us the opportunity to moderate chat without it ruining the video that we're recording tonight, and also protects our guests. You know, I owe it to our guests to try and keep them as safe as possible. And if we have chat on screen, it doesn't work. However, we will be featuring the best comments, questions, etc. throughout the interview. So if you want to carry on chatting, you absolutely can, even though it won't be on your screens. But what you need to know is you'll only be able to see the messages from the people on your platform. So you can see there that welcome in Devon, is watching on Facebook. So if he posts a message during the interview, only people on Facebook will see that and be able to converse. Same with anyone watching on LinkedIn. You will see that most people in our chat are watching on YouTube. So if you want the best experience, head over to our YouTube channel, Joel vs Arthritis. I think you can find me as well by just going to YouTube and looking for Joel Nelson. That sounds big-headed, it's not, but I think you can. If you do that, then you're going to be amongst the bigger group of people who are going to be chatting away. But I will be sharing stuff on screen. Use it as a bit of a prompt. Hopefully it encourages you to get involved in chat. And how these things always work with YouTube, the more messages in chat we get, the more live eyeballs we get. People get recommended to watch the video, and hopefully we get some new people. We help more people than we maybe would have done otherwise. So thank you for everyone leaving messages and getting involved. It really does help. And great to see so many people from LinkedIn tonight, because we get a lot of people watch on LinkedIn. We don't always get a lot of people speak in chat. So thank you very much for getting involved. Right, I need to save my voice because it's been rubbish the last couple of days and I've already spoken too much. So I'm going to bring our guest in and let somebody else do a bit of talking for a change. So I'm going to kill the music. We'll just get all these bits and pieces ready. So chat will be coming off screen, guys. But please do keep it going. I'll feature the best ones as much as I can during the conversation. So tonight is my pleasure to be joined by Rachel Edgecombe, who is the founder of Lived Experience Advisory Directory and is also a workplace psychologist. Rachel, welcome in. I hope you're well.
I am well. I am well indeed. I'm sorry to hear you're in a bit of pain tonight. I can, I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah, too much adulting and I'm paying for it, but there we go, such as these things. Thank you so much for giving up your time on a Sunday to join us. For all the people that are watching this live, I used to do big introductions for our guests, but then I thought, well, actually it's a lot better coming from them. So people might say you're just being lazy, Joel, but if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into the to all the various topics, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, of course. Well, you can just look at my LinkedIn. That'd be an easy one. But yeah, so I specialise in workplace psychology. Basically, what that means is we look at issues within the workplace or issues that people are experiencing and find them solutions to make their work not suck. So working alongside people in organisations is a really important thing for me to do, because I've seen some really shocking and scary workplace practices, and also some people that have been harmed by those workplace practices themselves. So in the context of today, I guess we're going to talk about workplace pain.
Yes, and also I just we're always quite blunt and to the point on here as well. So I think I should probably say, anyone that's watching this live or watching this back, if anything that we covered tonight that you need support with or whatever, then we'll try and include that in show descriptions and everything else, because I know there's lots of people in our community that experience that trauma or challenges and in the workplace, and I know it's not always like a happy ending for people's careers and things like that. So I think I should probably say that on the outset. So what is your, can we talk about your personal experience in that place of like health and the workplace? Like what was your experience? And obviously only share what you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll only share as much as I can't get sued for, but it's
Love that.
just got to put that one out there first. Yeah, so I've worked in mental health for pretty much all of my adult life, which has been a little while now. So working within those kind of environments as a person who's got a mental health diagnosis myself, has always been interesting. I thought I may as well get paid for it after being in the system for so long. I've experienced some really positive workplaces where they've been able to make some really great adjustments for how I need to work, but I've also worked in environments that have not walked the walk in what they've needed to do. And I've worked across lots of different settings. So as a lived experience worker as well in suicide prevention, I've worked in suicide bereavement services, so mainly across the mental health or bereavement field as well. But my most prominent experience was a couple of years ago, where I had to take a significant period of time off. I was experiencing vicarious trauma, but also burnout myself. And that led to me having some really dark thoughts and having some very, very difficult times in my life. And that's why I'm such a passionate advocate for people getting better workplaces when they have lived experience, because both myself and my family have seen what that can take people to. And it's a really serious topic. But if workplaces actually know how to make those adjustments, and not in terms of we've got a fancy EAP that we can palm you off onto once things get really bad, people don't have to get to that place. We can avoid all of that faff. It doesn't have to be a point where people get that distressed and that low. So that's a little bit about my experience. I luckily got the support I needed. I saw a psychologist for a couple of years, which has just finished. So I've graduated therapy now, which is great. But it took a huge chunk out of my life. And as a result of that, I've been exploring my own chronic physical pain journey as well, because I'm sure you've spoken about before those links between physical health and mental health.
Yeah.
And being reconnected with my own body now after so long of being detached, which can be a symptom of burnout, is that detachment from your environment, from your physical self, from how you feel about your work, and just complete flatline in how that was all feeling. I've actually noticed what's wrong with my body now, which is both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you start getting aware of things, that yeah.
Like, oh, that's happening. Marvelous. So yes, I've been exploring my own chronic pain journey. We don't know what it is yet. I'm sure there's loads of people that have been in the same boat here. This is probably the place for it. But yeah, it's slowly unpicking those layers, because especially with burnout and vicarious trauma, you can have one thing in front of you, and that's the outward distress that you're feeling and those disconnections or hypervigilance to situations that people might see on the surface. But underneath that, it's like a massive internal scream, and it can happen for years. I mean, my period of burnout started almost 2 years ago to the month now, and I'm still recovering from that. I still have days where I experience chronic distress where I'm not able to function how I'd want to. And that's just part of the journey of it, unfortunately. Sometimes people take a month, sometimes people take years, but I'm really lucky that I've got some decent networks around me and that I found my lived experience community as well.
Yeah, the peer, well, I'm going to say this, but the peer support element is like essential. I would not have found my way through that fog of similar experiences if I didn't have people that got it, that I could sort of like lean into. People probably watching this live are included in that. I wanted, just out of interest, there's lots to go back and talk about there, but out of interest, I just wanted to ask, you talked about burnout, your personal burnout there. Like, how long was it before you realized that was where you were at? Because that, there tends to be a delay, doesn't there, between like you're burnt out, but maybe not actually noticing that you're burnt out, and that's what you're dealing with.
I think sometimes, especially when you're working within caregiving or human services, so you're working with clients, patients, whatever kind of environment you're in, I think if you're in those jobs where you're in it to give back to people, you know it for a little while, and you're usually giving indicators of for a little while. It's just whether anyone notices those indicators or not. Because any decent manager, anyone that's responsible for your human welfare, will know these signs, will be able to identify that alongside you. So I think a lot of us are pathologically disconnected from self-care within work anyway, but this like ramps it up, it takes it to the next level. And when I first noticed was a month before I started making plans to take my own life. And so it was really late within sort of that pathway. It accumulated over a very, very long period of time. So we're talking months. So I started experiencing symptoms in the October, and in the April, that's when everything came tumbling down. So within that, it happens quite rapidly for me. But I think, again, that disconnection. But I think lots of other people, because those symptoms are really varied from person to person. I mean, there are some that are pretty consistent across the board, and that's obviously why you have different kinds of ways of identifying within that respect. But I've seen with colleagues that I've worked with previous, where it's like someone slowly falling apart piece by piece, and people around them that care about them and love them can see that, but they can't see that for themselves. And that's why it's so important that you have someone that can compassionately step in, and that you've got that psychological safety in work, that you're able to trust your leaders, your managers, that you're able to trust the people around you, that they're holding you safely within that. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have the right kind of culture, you don't feel safe in work, that's never going to happen. You don't have a chance.
Yeah, culture is a really important one, which I'm sure we'll probably come on to a bit more in terms of the role that plays in being a supportive place or not. And I appreciate you might have to tiptoe your way through this question a little bit. And I do totally understand your position. Before I ask it, how much, like, now you've had time to look back at that situation, everything, how much do you attribute work, the role, the workplace, the environment you're in, to what you're experiencing? Because let me try and quantify why I asked this. Is because for somebody who had a similar experience, I put everything on me. I thought I was failing to cope. I thought I wasn't managing my time correctly, and it kind of took me coming out of the situation to realize, well, actually, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you didn't get the support you need. So now you look back, how much do you attribute to that? And I'd just like to know what elements, was it the workplace, was it the role, was it the demands, or a bit of everything?
I think the way I had to look at it, so all of my adult, for a large part of my life, so I was first referred to mental health services at the age of 9. Right. I'm 30, end of 30s now.
You don't have to. Thank you.
That's all right. I'm just glad to still be here, to be perfectly honest. Every day's a bonus. But so I was referred into those kind of services from a very, very early age. And from the period of time that I stopped seeing mental health services, which was during the pandemic, weirdly. And then when I restarted having to see mental health services, there'd been about a 4-year gap. And there'd been lots of different things that had been happening in life. There'd been lots of social stresses. So bought a house, amazing privilege. Established a new relationship during a pandemic, utter insanity within itself. lots of different stresses that you would expect would cause psychological discomfort for someone that already had mental health symptoms themselves.
Yeah.
That was a whole thing within itself when I was experiencing burnout, and that's the time that I had to re-engage with mental health services. So it's a pretty clear and consistent indicator that that was due to the environment as opposed to anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I say that's a bit of a selfish question, because just from my own situation, I could sort of relate to that. Where I think it's quite easy to put it on you, isn't it? And
Absolutely.
I know we were. I feels like a good time to bring it up. I know we were talking before we come live about how social media and things can kind of make it feel like you're the problem, can't it? That you're not
Yeah.
managing well, or you. I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I thought you had some great views on that.
Yeah, I mean, I follow a lot of leaders and people that I've always looked up to sort of in this world because, I came from, and I still come from, a really down to earth place where we don't have much academic privilege or financial, any of that stuff. And I've always really looked up to academics or people that have put stuff out there from a leadership position. And it's always really polished. It's always really smooth. Like everything's up together. Everything's branded. It looks great, but it's not real. None of it's real. When we're talking about from a chronic pain, be that psychological, physical, social perspective, people feel disconnected from their experience when you're not able to put yourself across in an honest way. And, some people may call that authenticity, whatever else. But when you're consuming those kind of messages constantly, everything's great, we've rolled out a new service, we're doing this, our charity is doing so well, I'm doing so well, I've got this new job, it's fantastic. And he's sat at home, like popping a couple of diazepam, feeling horrible, sat in the corner of the room with the lights off. Like, it's not the real world. So one thing that I've tried to do, and my colleagues and lead, we don't talk about how brilliant things are going with us all of the time. Like, if we're having a bad time of things, you can represent that honestly while still being competent and capable, while still being someone that's got something going for them. Like, not everything has to go to the brown stuff to be able to say honestly, like, I'm having a really tough time, things aren't okay at the moment. It doesn't make you any less qualified, it doesn't make you any less capable, and it doesn't make you any less human. And I think sometimes when you're experiencing these workplace harms and injustices, especially someone that has physical or mental health difficulties or disability, you are programmed to feel like you're the problem. Sort of that internal stigma that you feel is enough to validate other people into saying that you are the problem, because it's more difficult for a structure or an organization to shift in a direction that's healthy for their workforce than it is to put the onus on you and say that it was down to you.
Yeah, I thank you for that answer, because it needs to be said. But I'm always banging on here about being real and not setting unrealistic expectations for the other people that we represent in the community and everything. And for me, I kind of doubled down on it after I had a message on LinkedIn. Obviously it would have been LinkedIn, where somebody DM'd me saying nobody wants to hear about when you're failing, or nobody. I can't remember how they worded it, but it's essentially nobody wants to hear about. Yeah, and I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to do it even more now, because somebody out there will. They're not visible to you, because you've got this tunnel vision of everything's got to be, singing and dancing. And the thing is, we live, like, you take something like chronic pain, which obviously you can relate to as well, unfortunately. There are so many more bad days and struggles than there are wins. So if all I'd done was post when I got to go out to a gig or somewhere with my family, or all them other people with chronic pain looking at that thinking, oh, Joel's got it all right. So for me, it's really important that we talk about when we get things wrong, when we maybe don't pace correctly, when we just did nothing wrong and it was out of our control and things went a bit crap. So yeah, thank you for being one of those people, because it's a really hard sell in some places in 2025 on social media. But I think it's so important that people see both sides of the whole 360 of the experience of these conditions.
I mean, really though, it just makes everyone just do a little bit of sick in the mouth feeling, doesn't it? When you see all of that, I've had to totally switch off from social media because I'm like, you know what? I am so bored of you now. I want to see how terrible and destroyed your life is. Sometimes don't give me the shiny stuff.
Well, that's like, my 3-year-old turned around and said to me, Dad, current economics suggests, and that's just like, absolutely, they did not say that. Just stop lying to the world. And and if you're watching this on LinkedIn, just call that out occasionally, because with the world would be a better place for it than us all just bloody putting love hearts next to it and nodding our heads and agreeing with what's absolute, I'm trying not to swear, nonsense. Let's say nonsense.
Don't you start, because you'll get me going, and
Yeah,
it's just downhill from that point.
I think we're quite similar with just like being to the point and everything. But it is like it, because there is people out there reading it that is just that is setting an impossible expectation, because it's not real. It's not real life. It's not the full 360, like I said. So yeah, thank you for that. And you mentioned lead. It feels like a good point for us to sort of talk about what that is and how you arrived at that, and what you tried to do.
Yeah, thank you for that caveat, for the plug there. So LEAD is the Lived Experience Advisory Directory, which is why we shortened it to LEAD, because, nice and snappy and poppy for the LinkedIn, but also a bit of a mouthful. We're an organisation that specialises in creating better workplaces alongside people with lived experience. And when I say lived experience, I'm saying this in the context of people who have had life experiences that have fundamentally shifted how they interact and look at the world. So that could be chronic pain, it could be loss to suicide, it could be experiencing mental health difficulties, it could be homelessness, alcohol and other drug use. And those people then want to give back intentionally into specific workplace roles that support other people that may be going through similar situations. Unfortunately, we know that people that have already experienced injustices or harms then go into the workplace and experience further harms because of inadequate support structures around them or stigma within the workplace. So it's kind of like a double blow. You've managed to bring yourself back on your feet to a certain extent to want to give back into a workplace, and then when that workplace is knocking you back down, it's a horrific feeling. And we meet a lot of people, ironically, especially in senior leadership positions, who are experiencing these harms, feeling isolated, feeling alone, when their workplaces could make adjustments so that they were retaining really good, really well qualified people in lots of different areas, and also not perpetuating further harms. So we do that through lots of different means. We provide one-to-one supervision, coaching, mentoring. We also work directly with organisations to be able to support them to do the best for their workforce. But we've also just launched a couple of services. So we have Lead Together, which is a peer support group for people with lived experience within the workplace, and that's globally. And we also have Lead Know Your Rights, which is a legally informed session where our co-director, Matt, who's a qualified non-practicing solicitor, informs disabled people as to what their rights are. So it's not aimed at people that are managers or leaders, it's aimed at the people that are actually experiencing inequality, which is something quite different.
Oh yeah, no, that's a really important distinction, and it's so needed as well. Like, I've experienced these issues. You have. My DMs are always full of, it's present, like, really, and you can't help people where they're not getting the support they need. And I should point out, I think I'd already said it earlier in the interview, but if I haven't, I'm uncomfortable today, so concentration's an issue for me. So if I'm not chaining the questions, well, I apologise.
I've got ADHD, Joel. We're in a safe space here, okay? Like, what's going on?
The amount of these where the interview will finish and I'll say to the live audience, I'm really sorry, my brain fog was bad today. I say brain fog, it isn't brain fog, it's like a concentration thing. And most people don't notice it, but when you notice it and you draw attention to it, and if you don't say something, again, leaning into the authenticity thing, if you don't say something, you can't take that weight off your shoulders. So
you're just in safe space. You're all good. You're all good.
So the one thing I wanted to ask is, like, some of the things you said there made me think of it. It's like you've had experience of both mental health, mental illness, I should say, sorry, mental health is just the term that always seems to come in
You're
probably incorrectly. Mental illness and both, and pain as well, so the physical as well. How has your experience differed in terms of like the support you've seen, or maybe when you're helping people with lead, do you see a difference with like stigma and willingness to support based on whether it's a mental or a physical condition?
Yeah, and that's a really good question as well. We find that the peer lived experience workforce are disproportionately weighted to mental health, which is really challenging actually, because as you well know, people with physical disabilities or physical health issues are just as much in need of someone in a peer support capacity.
Yeah.
But within workplaces, I think when it's something that you can physically see, people know how to make adjustments because they're practical. However, when you have a hidden disability or a hidden illness, something that isn't on the surface, people don't quite know what to do with that because they're met with a person that looks like they're functioning. It looks like they're able to hold themselves together. But what they don't understand, and I'm sure your audience and yourself get this as well, when you have had to become so practiced at functioning, those indicators sometimes aren't quite as obvious. So being able to identify those is really important for the people that you're working alongside. But to be perfectly honest, some workplaces are just as stigmatizing. So it's viewed as more difficult sometimes to put in measures than it is to ignore those factors, when it's really bad business sense actually, because you end up losing really good people. But by putting those adjustments in place, you can retain good people. But both are the same in the respects of the way that you can approach this. All you need is to ask someone what they need. It really is as simple as that. You don't need to go through some in-depth process. You don't need to explore anything. And most people were okay to put that out there as well. Like if you've come to know yourself and how you tick and, you know, the things that you need and don't within work, like you can feed that back. It's not hard stuff. These aren't like big questions that you need to ask people. But I definitely think people with hidden illness or hidden disability are far more marginalized in some respects in terms of how people ask those exploratory questions and approach things with curiosity. I think there's lots of disadvantage across the board with, you know, intersectionality between race, gender, etc. But people with hidden disabilities are often less noticed within that.
Yeah. No, I think it's really valid. As someone who's probably had about 25 or 30 OC health referrals in my career,
Wow.
it feels like a lot of them could avoid it if somebody was just sort of brave enough to ask me, what do I need? Like, because to go through all of that process and everything just to basically get that to come back, it's like, it didn't need to go, you know, it could have been just that simple conversation of how can we help today, and also recognizing that today is different to what then tomorrow might look like. Because I think that's, I don't know about you, but you know, maybe oversharing here, but a lot of my experience has been that lack of understanding about being flexible, you know, and like things you put in place today might work today. It doesn't mean they're going to work in a couple of months' time, or when you have a setback or something happens, people will often refer to those changes, adaptations, or whatever they put in place. They're not valid now, or they work then, they don't work now. And my experience, sometimes people can get offended that, like, well, I went through all this, haven't we done this, and why does that not work anymore? Because my condition has changed. You know, I don't know what your experience,
Steve.
So I don't know what your experience of that is, but for me, that's the hard thing, is when people do help, I'm then scared to ask to change what that looks like, because it's almost like, oh, you're not grateful, we made these, you know what I mean? Or have you not experienced that?
Well, I've always been quite fortunate in the respect of I've always had a wellness action plan within work.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've probably used those before.
Yeah, I have. I can't say many other people have looked at them, but I've written them.
I'm here for that. But you know, you've got one. Yeah, with wellness action plans, and you know, being able to advise people what your limitations or not limitations are on one day or another, that's really important. And I've been diagnosed with autism and ADHD within the last year. And although I was on the waiting list within work, and that was something that was disclosed, I didn't have a diagnosis then, but I've always had this, you don't suddenly just have those things pop up. You've always had them. They've just been lurking in the background. So sometimes I felt I could do more or less on one day or another, and due to my mental health as well, because trauma decides to come up when it comes up. So being able to put across, say, within work now, I'm really lucky that I've got a group of people that I work with that are really emotionally in tune. We're all disabled folk. We know what the score is. So I'll have days where I can dip into the methodical stuff. So I'll update my web page. I'll make sure that I put all my academic resources online, all that boring stuff that's just like the single function. Other things, you can write strategy. You can have 6 meetings a day, maybe a couple of meetings a day and fit them in. But if you were working with someone else, being able to define those things, plans like that should be revisited regularly. So reasonable adaptation should be something that's quite fluid within the workplace. Any good HR department would know that. And I've met some very good HR professionals, but perhaps, management have not been able to follow that through in the right way. So it needs that consistency as well. Yeah. And for the whole leadership system to be educated, but also with colleagues as well. So when I was managing teams, I was also sharing my wellness plans with my colleagues and some people that I managed. None of them were particularly disclosing. They don't have to be anything uncomfortable. It's just about putting out there as much as people would need to know in your inner sphere to be able to identify where you're at in that space in time. But also that requires that you've got, I know I keep on coming back to psychological safety. You don't have people that you can trust that you can work with.
That's what I was
on my desk passionately. You don't really have the ability to put that across. And we know that lots of people that are disabled or have chronic illness feel stigmatized in work.
Yeah.
I think it was something like 26% of, there's 26% higher rates of burnout within people that are disabled or women or the LGBTQIA community. So when you've experienced those kind of marginalizations, there's obviously something in the background there that is stopping people accessing the mechanisms that are keeping them going, or they're working within systems that aren't working for them. I think that's probably the bottom line of it, really.
Yeah. I was getting cold sweat when you mentioned the sharing thing, because as somebody that's been a manager their entire career, it's like I had hid my condition my entire life. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I didn't feel like I was in a safe place where I could share it. And then pandemic happened, and like many of us, I started sharing and started doing the advocacy thing and putting stuff online. It took, I feel like I should say minutes, but it took a very short amount of time before I was in the workplace having that brought up as oh well, maybe you're just having a bad day, or maybe you're in pain, and it was the most soul destroying thing, because I'd spent years building up my reputation, my career, to have somebody you're sort of trying to manage and guide and coach, and whoever, you make a decision they don't like, and then your pain comes up and it wounds. It feels like getting stabbed. It's horrendous. So like you say, it's all about having that structure in place where you feel like you're in a safe place, where you feel supportive, and for me, it's like we mentioned culture earlier, and that's the big blocker. Like in my personal experience, please correct me if you've had totally different things, because like you can have the nicest person in the world managing you, the most supportive, caring, empathetic person, and I have had this over the years, going back years to previous roles and things. But if they're in a system that doesn't let them support you, that only knows one route, and that's to performance manage you out of the door or absence manage you out of the door, there's very little they can do, So I don't know what thoughts you've got on those sort of things.
Yeah, in one scenario, I've had exactly that. Like, had a lovely person that was within the latter stage of things, managing, but working within a system and within structures that were pretty rotten in the way that they operate. And within those situations, like, a mitigator for burnout is having those buffers around. So a buffer could be a really solid manager that you can connect with, that you can have that honesty with. But if the environment around them, if that wider situation or organization are diametrically opposed to their approach, there's only so long that will sustain you for. So those things within work, if you have high job demands and low resources. So if you had like a astronomical workload, you had 26 times, that's quite specific. You had lots more clients than anyone else, or you had loads more hours that you had to work, but you were going through a flare up of your chronic pain symptoms. That would mean that you have the low resources and high demands. That's going to open you up to a further point where you may experience burnout. So that's going to make you more predisposed to feeling that if the environment's not working for you, but also the environment wasn't designed for you, if it wasn't built with you in mind. And lots of these environments aren't built for us disabled folk in mind, aren't built for people that have experienced trauma in mind as well. And it's not to say that they can't adapt, that they can't mold, that people can do better from that. But unfortunately, we're not there yet. And this is why there needs to be structures like LEAD, like lots of other organisations that support workplaces to get it right.
Yeah, it's so important. And I had this conversation with someone before. I said it's workplaces are very much like the health system in that it's built for triage and people breaking their arms, getting fixed and going back out again, and not for the long-term dynamic, fluid sort of health conditions that most people are living with, especially with like an aging population and everything. So and I feel that, I feel that both when I'm getting my support from a hospital, but also when you're trying to get support from an employer and in any stage of my career, because trying to get that understanding that I've already mentioned it, what today looks like isn't what tomorrow's going to look like, or how I don't fit into those policies. And if you make some adaptations, I promise you will get, if you stop managing like how much did I do today and start looking at how much did you do this week, that sort of zooming out thing is something I've talked about before to try and help me, because I might have a bad 2 days, but then I can catch up 3 days later and everything's good again. And yeah, it's really difficult. So thank you for what you're doing with LEAD and for sharing your experiences and being so candid, because it's so needed. It's the only way we're going to change people's sort of views on this, I think. I'm very conscious of time. I feel like we could literally talk all night. So I want to just
wow, we're on time.
yeah. It's absolutely flown by. I feel like obviously we've talked about lots of subjects, and maybe if anyone would like to let us know in the comments either in live or watching the video back if there's anything more specific they want us to revisit at a later date. But we've obviously touched upon things like wellness action plans now. I wanted to give you some space at the end of the interview to basically feel free to rattle off anything people can do, try, look into, signpost to, where they might be able to try. If you feel like they're in this place where they're not getting support, or they're gradually that exit door is getting closer and closer, what can they do to try and improve that situation?
So when people are reaching out for support, the first place they usually go is online. And you'll have a look on Insta, you'll have a look on any kind of socials platform, and you'll have lots of these creative solutions. So 10 ways to avoid burnout, go and get yourself a cup of tea, drink more water, go and connect with nature, go and sniff a leaf. All of that stuff is lovely. But I'm sorry, it's not going to do the job. And that's just forcing the onus back on you, which I think a lot of us disabled folk have seen recently within politics, let alone the workplace. So those things that you can do are preserve your own resources and sometimes develop an exit strategy. If things aren't working for you, you will only thrive in the conditions that will allow you to thrive. This isn't about you. I think that's one message that I want to leave people with is, this is not a you thing, this is a them thing. And ultimately, you can only have within your sphere of influence as much as you can change. And you are worth so much more than the environment that you are in at the moment. And there is lots of other environments that will value you an awful lot more. And being able to step away from those things, granted, is a privilege. But when you're looking forward and when you're holding that little bit of self-worth a little bit more, that's when the opportunities come towards you. And there's people that will always snap up good people.
That is so beautifully put. I had other questions, but I'm not going to. That summarizes, I think that just feels like the best place to end it. So thank you. Like you not only speak brilliantly, but you speak candidly and you share your lived experiences and the stuff you've gone on to do with LEAD and everything. It's just makes you such a valuable human being in this space. And I'm very grateful that you've joined us and you're doing everything you're doing. I do feel like we didn't touch upon half of the things we said we were going to. I've only got to about point 3 on my long list. So it's amazing. So hopefully you'd come back another time and we can deep dive into, if we get some questions back from the community, maybe who are listening to this, watching it back, etc., then we can maybe deep dive into a couple of those subjects, because I feel like we're only just scratching the surface on those topics.
Yeah, sure thing. And thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. So I'm sorry we've overrun ever so slightly. Thank you for sharing. Is there anywhere you want to point people to? I'm putting the website up on the screen now, but is there anywhere else you want to point people to where they can either get in touch with you or get support or learn more?
Yeah, so if people want to reach out to us directly, we're on LinkedIn. So livedexperienceleaders.com is our web page, but if you have a look for the Lived Experience Advisory directory on LinkedIn, you can ask us any questions that pop up on there, and we're more than happy to field things individually from that point. There's loads of resources on our Lived Experience library as well, so just hit us up there.
Brilliant. Rachel, thank you so much. Absolutely wonderful guest, wonderful person. I don't feel like it's going to be the last time we're speaking together based on our conversations today. And yeah, thank you for tolerating and being so considerate on a night when I'm not firing on all cylinders. I really appreciate your understanding. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Feel free to hang around in chat, and yeah, we will see you again soon, no doubt. Thank you. Bye-bye. Folks, let me bring chat back in and some background music. Thank you for all of the comments. I was trying to read them as quick as I can, and try and take the conversation in those directions. I'll go back and see some of them now. So many people joined us on different platforms. I really appreciate it. Maybe not access to work. Yeah, it has its place, but I'm currently on about a 40-week wait list for that, Rachel. So I have lived experience of access to work at the moment. It's definitely got its place, but it's not very accessible at the moment for me. Let's say that. Thank you for all of the comments, guys, coming in chat. Please do keep them going. Rachel is still watching in the green room, so if anyone wants to say any thanks or anything like that, please drop them now in chat. I really appreciate it. If our guests feel well looked after, they hopefully come back, and I do feel like we have lots to cover there. Yeah, when me and Rachel first met online a couple of weeks back, it was just the most natural conversation ever, and hopefully that came across there. And again, guys, I know I shouldn't apologize. I'll get lots of messages from people saying, why are you apologizing? But that's just who I am. I'm very British when it comes to apologizing. That if anything didn't kind of link or make sense, or I was a bit slow, I feel like I've warmed up now, but I was very conscious of it's not brain fog. People who live with chronic pain will understand it. It's a distraction. That's all I can describe it as. Like when you're really uncomfortable, or maybe the pain relief is wearing off, or whatever that looks like, you've been in the chair at the desk too long. It's like a distraction. It's almost like my son would be behind me calling my name, and I'm trying to ignore him and trying to focus on one thing is really difficult. So people say brain fog. To me, it's not really a brain fog. Brain fog's when I forget what I'm doing. This is more I'm distracted from what I should be doing, and I've had a big problem with that over the last week. And anyone waiting for me to get back to them on emails and work will be able to relate to that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all the comments. Sharing Nia as well, and Rachel. Lots of new people in chat tonight. Really appreciate it. I wasn't getting all the names coming over from people that were on LinkedIn. So if you were watching this on Rachel's LinkedIn, I wasn't getting your name. So sorry I couldn't refer to you personally. But thank you so much. So if you were watching on my LinkedIn, then I get your name. If you're watching on where our guest has shared it, I don't get it. So sorry about that. Yeah, and I caught myself saying, someone said about mental illness. I caught myself saying mental health. Do you not find that it's such a common term that we need to get more comfortable saying mental illness? Like if same as I say my chronic illness or my physical health condition or whatever. Yeah, I caught myself saying mental health when I meant mental illness, and I will work on that. But yeah, it's amazing. You can have the bit I think that really that came across with me is like, it's having that environment. It's having that environment to share, isn't it? You know, like, it terrifies me sharing now. Ever since I started doing this advocacy thing, it's caused me nothing but problems, because you don't know who's watching, and you don't know when it's going to be boomeranged back at you. Well, you're okay yesterday because I saw you do X, Y, and Z. Well, yeah, funny enough, I don't put every breath and bowel movement I have on Facebook. I share a lot, but not that much. And yeah, it's horrible. It's a horrible thing when that is used against you. So if you've got that supportive space where you can be open and honest, that's amazing. But unfortunately, I know there's lots of people that are going to be watching this where that is not the case, unfortunately. Guys, if you're just dropping in, like, I see Tracy's with us. Welcome in, Tracy. There was a couple other people came in. Amy right on cue. Look at that. I hadn't actually seen Amy's message when I said that. Anyone that's just dropping in, like Amy and Tracy, firstly, welcome. Don't apologize, genuinely. Whatever time you can give is very much grateful and appreciated. But don't forget, guys, the minute I end this stream in a few minutes' time, you'll be able to watch the full rerun on whatever platform you're watching this. It'll go up on my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my YouTube. For the best experience, get yourselves over to YouTube. I'm just going to quickly find the link. We have a dedicated playlist called The Rerun, which, funnily enough, is a rerun of all the live streams, but in full and unedited. So you can see, I appreciate you'll only get this link won't work on all platforms, but if you go there, you can see all of these interviews, all the stuff I'm waffling on about before and after, like I am right now. Like, I'm sure one of them is going to get me in trouble one day because of something I said before or after an interview, but frankly, if I said it, I'll own it. But that's the whole show in full, not just edited, nothing cut out, etc. So if you're coming in late, guys, you can just go through, skip all my rubbish at the start, get to the important stuff with our guest, and watch whatever you want to watch. And since Amy's in chat, today I did put up the edited version of when Amy joined me. I think it was like back in November or something. That's crazy how quick time goes doing this. And you can also find it on the podcast as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to find Amy's wonderful face on the front page. She's going to hate me for drawing attention, but you can also find it on the podcast if you just search Joel Nelson wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. Wherever you listen to podcasts, just search my name and you'll be able to find it in audio form. So if you like listening to podcasts while you walk the dog, go check it out there. If you prefer to watch a video, you can find it on the YouTube. And that's what we're all about here, guys. We try to cut these conversations up into as many ways as we physically have time to, so that we can hopefully meet people where they are and people can consume it in a way that suits them. So we've got people that just watch the live show because they like to be involved, part of a community, etc., which is amazing. That's the bit that's really special for me because I started all this for peer support. And then we've got the people that just watch the videos in the next week. Like, for example, our last Chronic Pain Club, we didn't get many people watch it live. It happens, you know, the notifications didn't go out, something went wrong, whatever. We then went and had 50, 60 people watch it within 24 hours of us ending the live stream. So that's great. And then obviously we edit the videos, make them a bit more glossy, and then they have another lease of life. And the podcast has another lease of life. So, and you might see me changing the titles a little bit depending on where you watch that. It's the same conversation. It's just maybe we jazz it up a little bit more for the YouTube video, and maybe it's a bit more dry and academic for the podcast feed, etc. So, but it's the same conversation wherever you want to consume it. And yeah, thank you again, Amy, for being a part of the show, not just as a guest, but as a part of the community as well. I really appreciate it. And guys, if you want to hang out with these people more, you can find them over on our Discord community during the week, where there's a mix of gaming, health, what movies you've been watching. We just started a camera club on there, so if you want to share some photos, you can do that on there. I appreciate it's not a memorable URL. I will try and do something about that in the long run, but for now, if you want to take a screenshot on your phone, then you can go back and refer to it and join us. I should probably put a link in chat, but I haven't copied it, so I can't paste it. I'm not that organized, funny enough, when I'm having one of these days of high pain, but I should be. I know I should be. Next time I'll have a copy and paste ready of the Discord server. But I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I will be back, and next week is the 20. What's next week? Today's the 23rd. Next week is the 30th of March. It must be. That's 7 days away. I can do basic maths. Where I will be joined for the second time by Jamie Nicole. Really looking forward to that. You might recall that Jamie joined us to talk about their experience and how they sort of got into healing and coaching and things like that. We didn't cover enough, bit like tonight with Rachel. They were a wonderful guest, and we didn't have enough time in the sort of 40 minutes we have for these things to cover everything. So they'll be coming back to talk a little bit more, which will be an amazing experience. In the meantime, guys, if you've enjoyed this, hit the like button, give the channel a follow, or subscribe as they call it in YouTube. And if you want to go one step further, you can by becoming a channel member. We are completely unsponsored. We get no money for doing any of this, apart from a few pennies every 6 months from YouTube in the ads. It is just our channel members that fund us. So if you want to get involved more, if you want to help us more, you can find wherever you're watching, there should be like a button underneath the picture of my face that says join or become a member. I think it's join. If you hit the join button, you can find out a little bit more, just for the sake of a couple of pounds a month. But you don't have to. Just your viewership is enough. Genuinely, we're going to be here anyway, whether people support us or not. We're going to be here anyway. I've been doing this for years now. We ain't going anywhere. It just means if I have a camera or a microphone break, there's more chance that I can afford to replace it. Otherwise, next week I might be on my mobile phone and you're all looking at my nostrils. but thank you for everyone that supports us. Nia, thank you for the link on Discord. Hopefully that didn't create a new one. I think the old one should still be live. And if anyone's got anything else to say, then I think we will leave it there. Thanks to all the new people that watched over on LinkedIn. Really appreciate it. I hope you learned something from it. Guys, we're here to share your experiences. If you've got a story to tell, if you're doing stuff in the advocacy world, if you're from an organization and want to share your great work that's around like patient-led, patient-focused, collaborative, holistic healthcare approaches, multidisciplinary approaches, anything like that is what we're here for. So if you are putting patients front and center, the person behind the disease front and center in what you're doing, we want to hear from you. Get in touch with me. I don't bite, despite the rugged appearance, and we'll get you on the show. Thank you for everyone who's joined tonight, guys. Thank you for all the new viewers. Really appreciate it. And I will be back next Sunday and on Twitch before that as well. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.